Africa's cities pulse with energy. Every street hums with a rhythm of movement. Cars, buses, motorcycles, all carrying people chasing livelihoods, education, and survival. But behind this energy lies an invisible crisis. The very air that sustains life is slowly turning against us. Fuel, once the symbol of progress, has become a silent killer. Across Nigeria and much of Africa, petrol no longer burns clean. Thick plumes of smoke trail behind vehicles, coating our lungs with toxins and clouding our future. This is not just an environmental issue. It's a public health emergency. Children on their way to school, market women, drivers, and traders breathe in exhaust fumes every single day, unknowingly inhaling the poisons that shortens lives. This is breath of change, pollution, health, and agriculture in Africa. A TouchScience Africa production.
Government wa epo tí wọ́n ń ṣe yẹn kò wá òkè so that epo yẹn tí a bá ti tẹ̀lé bí bike àbí mọ́tò ní ẹ̀yìn àwọn èéfín tó máa ń ṣe jáde yẹn ó máa ní ìfẹ́tì nínú ara wa.
Yekini Agbaje, a commercial motorcyclist in Ibadan, Nigeria, knows the struggle firsthand. His livelihood depends on riding. Yet, every journey comes at a cost. The fume stings his lungs, weakens his breath, and threatens his health. His story echoes that of millions of riders, drivers, and passengers across Nigeria. And his appeal is simple: clean our fuel, save our lives.
So tí wọ́n bá lè bá wa rí epo míì sí yàtọ̀ sí àwọn epo tí à ń lò ń sìn kò bá wà òkè fún benefit gbogbo ara wa torí epo yẹn ó ní ìfẹ́tì gbogbo wa pẹ̀lú gáàsì àti èéfín tí à ń fẹ́ sí àfẹ́ tí ó lè gbé àwọn fífi yẹn sí mímọ́ lájọ orí ìfẹ́tì ara wa.
Cleaner fuel is not just a demand for convenience, it is a plea for survival. Behind the haze lies a growing truth. Africa must choose between polluted progress or sustainable growth. And the challenge does not end at the roads. Step into the homes of millions of families. Another invisible killer is waiting. In many African households, the heartbeat of family life is the kitchen. But in countless homes, cooking is a dangerous act. Charcoal, once seen as an affordable solution, now threatens both health and the environment. Inside small, poorly ventilated rooms, charcoal smoke fills the air. What smells like a normal meal to many hides a deadly truth. Pollution levels inside these homes can reach up to 100 times more than the safe limits set by the World Health Organization. The smoke is responsible for killing over 800,000 Africans every single year, more than malaria itself. The victims are often the most vulnerable: children, mothers, and the elderly.
Charcoal smoke makes pollution levels go up to almost 100 times more than the safe limits set by the World Health Organization. And that is where the air pollution, the indoor air pollution, comes in and leads to the 800,000 people who die.
Patricia Nanteza, Africa coordinator for WePlanet, has dedicated her campaign to exposing this hidden killer. Her work began with a focus on saving Africa's forests, but her research uncovered even deeper crises. Charcoal is not only destroying forests, it is destroying lives.
That is when we realized that actually charcoal is the second leading cause of deforestation on the African continent, only second to agriculture. So the leading cause is cutting down trees for expansion of agricultural land. And so that is when we decided that we cannot actually deal with deforestation on the continent minus reducing our charcoal usage. And that gave birth to the Reduce Charcoal Use campaign.
The link is direct and devastating. Every bag of charcoal begins with a felled tree. Every tree cut releases carbon into the air. And the process of turning wood into charcoal is among the most carbon-intensive practices on Earth. Cooking with charcoal releases 10 times more carbon dioxide than cooking with gas. This is not only an environmental issue, it is a climate emergency.
Charcoal use leads to deforestation, and deforestation exacerbates the effects of climate change. Burning charcoal is 10 times more carbon intensive than LPG.
Forests are more than just trees. They are nature's air conditioners, cooling our world and balancing rainfall. Without them, Africa's climate grows hotter, drier, and more unstable. Women, especially pregnant women, bear the brunt of this crisis. Too much heat leads to miscarriages, and too little rainfall endangers crops, livestock, and entire livelihoods.
We have seen that the increase in temperature is bad for women's health, especially pregnant women. A woman can actually miscarry because of too much heat. It is too much heat brings about low rainfall, and I really don't have to explain the effects of low or no rainfall on the African continent, where our agriculture is still rain-fed.
Charcoal is stealing Africa's future. Yet alternatives exist. Cleaner fuels like LPG and electricity can cut emissions, save forests, and protect lives. What is needed is not just awareness, but political will, global investment, and a cultural shift towards sustainable cooking.
So currently, the most realistic and immediate alternative to charcoal is LPG. It is not just realistic, immediate, it is also cleaner and cost-effective. So LPG is the most immediate and practical alternative to charcoal because it needs less infrastructure. We don't actually need to build anything. All that families need to do is buy an LPG gas cooker and then go get a cylinder, and then they'll start cooking. So that is the most immediate. But then electricity is the most preferred. But the challenge with electricity is that currently access is very limited, and electricity is very capital intensive in terms of infrastructure and getting it to the end mile consumer. But it is the cleaner fuel. So our Reduce Charcoal Use campaign is not an LPG campaign. It is a cleaner cooking fuel campaign.
Patricia's campaign is gaining momentum, particularly among Africa's youth. Young people who grew up coughing in smoky kitchens now see clearly that the old ways must change. They are calling for clean air, healthier homes, and a sustainable planet.
Young people, especially young people who have used charcoal and firewood, have been very excited about our campaign because for them, it's easy for them to understand the smoke. It's easy for them to understand and relate with the time spent lighting either firewood or charcoal. And then when they understand the effects now, the health effects and environmental effects, we found that people who do the bulk of the cooking, especially girls and women, have welcomed this campaign a bit more than others.
The crisis of air pollution extends far beyond our lungs. It reaches into the soil, the plants, and the food on our tables. Agriculture, the backbone of Africa's survival, is being quietly threatened by dust and ozone pollution. These pollutants weaken crops, reduce yields, and endanger food security for millions. Dust storms block sunlight, coat leaves, and suffocate the ability of plants to photosynthesize. Ground-level ozone, created when sunlight reacts with vehicle and industrial emissions, burn the tissues of leaves and accelerating aging and reducing harvests. This is not just an environmental issue. It is a food crisis in the making.
Environmental stressors like dust and ozone affect crop growth in indirect but significant ways, which ultimately reduce yields and threaten food security. For instance, dust reduces sunlight, which affects light intercepted by the leaves, hence interfering with the photosynthesis. It coats leaves and clogs stomata, which affects as well the water regulation of the plants and gas exchange. Dust as well contributes to soil degradation and promotes disease spread. On the other hand, ozone, here we are referring to ground level ozone, which is a toxic air pollutant formed when sunlight reacts with emissions from vehicles, industries, and biomass burning. It damages the cells of leaves, including the tissues, through what is referred as oxidative stress.
Joy Emerald, a crop scientist from the National Root Crops Research Institute, studies how to protect agriculture from these invisible threats. Her work focuses on breeding improved crop varieties that can withstand the pressures of pollution, climate change, and limited resources.
Improved crop varieties play a critical role in reducing the risks of declining air quality because these improved crop varieties are tolerant to ozone, they are tolerant to dust, drought, and heat stresses.
These resilient crops act as biological buffers, making better use of scarce water, nutrients, and sunlight, ensuring farmers will harvest despite environmental shocks. But farmers face a double burden: climate change and air pollution. To survive, they must adapt with new tools, smarter practices, and community resilience.
Nigerian farmers face a double burden of climate change and air pollution. And to sustain productivity, they will need an integrated adaptive approach that balances both pressures. Some practical ways include like adoption of climate smart agriculture, the use of improved varieties bred for drought, heat, air pollution tolerance. So also adoption of regenerative agricultural practices would be of immense help. Leveraging early warning and digital tools in decision making, that is for adjusting planting, irrigation and fertilizer schedules, will as well contribute to alleviating this problem.
Safeguarding agriculture requires more than science alone. It demands investments in research, partnerships between government and farmers, and policies that prioritize resilience. Local research into how Nigeria's diverse agroecologies respond to dust, ozone, and heat is critical for building a sustainable food system.
Safeguarding agriculture from worsening pollution, for instance, in Nigeria, requires investments in resilient crops, sustainable farming systems, farming practices, digital tools, and most importantly, local research. Local research on crop response to ozone, dust, and heat stress in Nigerian agroecologies, the different agroecologies in Nigeria. This will be better done when combined with stakeholders' partnerships and favorable policies.
From the roads to our homes, from the forests to the farmlands, air pollution is shaping Africa's future. It is stealing health, destroying livelihoods, and deepening climate change. Yet, across the continent, voices are rising. Commercial riders like Yekini, activists like Patricia, and scientists like Joy Emerald remind us that change is possible. Cleaner fuel for transport, cleaner cooking for homes, resilient crops for farmlands. These are not dreams, they are necessities. With collective action, political will, and community engagement, Africa can breathe easier, live healthier, and secure its food for generations to come. From our crowded streets to our quiet farmlands, the air we share connects us all. The fight for clean air is not just about the environment. It is our children, our health, and our future. Cleaner fuels, cleaner kitchens, green cities. These are not dreams. They are the choices that define our survival. The fight for clean air is the fight for life itself, and it begins with a single breath.